In the commentary box by Trevor Hoskins, who's the Senior Vice President Public Affairs for Firestone. Trevor, how do you read this race so far? We've got 3 Firestone tyre cars leading, 1, 2, 3. Michael Andretti, though, has been looking really strong with the Goodyears, hasn't he?
Andretti does look strong, there's no doubt about that, and that's the one we fear. But right now, we're very comfortable out there. It seems to be becoming, Ben, more a race of gearbox than tyres right now.
Yes, as you say, gearbox has caused problems for both Ribeiro and just for Jimmy Vasser. Do you have any feedback from the teams in terms of, after that first stint, did anybody suffer problems with the front tyres or the rear tyres going off on the Firestones?
No, we're still looking good. In fact, we were thinking that those running on options, which were everyone except Blundell and Moore, would be coming in and go to primary. That didn't happen. They carried on options, so they're obviously satisfied with those tyres.
Just explain quickly for us the difference between the options and the primary this weekend.
The option is a slightly softer tyre. Obviously it gets hotter. It is hot here, as you know. Track temperature about 135 Fahrenheit, and it is pretty warm. So that tyre, if a tyre was going to blister, that one would blister before the primary tyre.
But so far there's been no evidence of any blistering?
None whatsoever.
Now, how much of an eye are you able to keep on Goodyear? I mean, obviously, presumably you've got spies out there in the pit lane looking at the tyres as they come off the Goodyear tyred cars. Any idea how they're getting on?
I think they're doing okay right now. In fact, you know, we're surprised that Michael came up as quickly as he did. You remember qualifying, he was very disappointed with the car's performance, and we thought a lot of that was due to tyres, but they're doing okay at the moment. Yes, we watch each other very carefully.
I'm sure you do. Yeah, it's a big battle between Firestone and Goodyear. Would it be true to say that Firestone really, at this point in the season, that Firestone have really had the edge, have got the edge over Goodyear generally?
Well, we certainly think we do. If we win this race here, it will be our 8th victory. We won 10 races last year. We've got a few more left, so we hope to beat our performance last year. And certainly on our high-speed ovals, we seem to have the edge on them. As I say, Michael is doing a great job right now.
Well, we're hoping to hear from Andre Ribeiro in just a moment, the race leader, of course, who came into the pits on the yellow flag, lost his gears, and we've got a chance. Yes, I think we've got Andre Ribeiro.
With a faulty gearbox, Andre, the disappointment, you led this thing.
Well, there's no question that our car was just perfect. We definitely made everything right again. The car was just very good on race rhythm, but unfortunately we had this problem. We'll be back here. We had some problems here. We came back. We won. We'll come back.
Now you have a bigger smile than normal because you've got that Reynard, despite the fact that your teammate Adrian Fernandez is still saddled with a Lola. You gotta like the idea of finishing the season with that Reynard.
Well, for sure it's a huge disappointment when you have a good car to be able to win, and then you have this problem. You have to stop. But of course, we are able to be competitive, and this is the main thing right now for us.
Well, as Andre Ribeiro's retired, we see that coming in, as they call dead stick, Gary Gerald, is Mauricio Gugelmin with no power. But let's check in with you.
Well, there's some sort of problem there, obviously, for Mauricio Gugelmin. It is engine failure. They're telling us it is engine failure. So, Mauricio Gugelmin, but how can that be, Jeremy? He's been coasting around under a yellow flag. What on earth can have gone wrong?
Yeah, very good question indeed. Certainly they would they lean the engine out to try and make, you know, maximum fuel mileage under these sort of conditions, under yellow, just to try and, you know, make sure they can run as long as they can. But maybe that's just caused a problem somewhere inside of the engine. It's designed to run at maximum speed, and he won't be happy with that at all. That's a great shame for Mauricio Gugelmin. He's looking very, very strong this weekend.
Yeah, I think quite a few people had the money on Mauricio for this weekend, and well, it's just amazing. Unless it's just a fuel problem, they're actually going to work on it, on an electrical problem, perhaps, that they think that they can solve. But whatever it is, it's very disappointing. We've got just one lap to go until we get green flag racing once again here.
He's lost one lap already there in the pits, Mauricio Gugelmin, as the field comes past here to complete 64 laps. But certainly there's some feverish activity going on there. They get the side pod off the car, get it into the main brain, so to speak, the main part of the electronics on the car, and see if they can find out what's caused this engine to cut out under yellow. And what a shame for Mauricio Gugelmin. There we are on board now with the car number 5. That's Gilles de Ferran, who's running in 11th place now on the lead lap, towards the tail end of the lead lap. He's been pretty cagey in the early stage of this race. A couple of pit stops there in the very early stages. He got a lap down, but he's managed to regain that lap during that previous caution period, and he'd actually moved up fairly well before the second yellow. So we'll see what Gilles de Ferran can do here in his next stint.
So the car's heading round now to restart the racing here on lap number 65. It's Scott Pruitt who is the race leader now, chased by teammate Raul Boesel. These two did not stop on that last opportunity. Third place for Michael Andretti, and there you ride on board with Michael Andretti as he tries to pass Denis Vitolo, who's running further down the order. Andretti goes through. Does he safely? Yes. He's been chased by Bobby Rahal, and there is Rahal now with the same job to do and squeeze past the American driver. But also watch out for Al Unser Jr., who has moved his way up into 5th position. Now, interesting, we just heard that there's a black flag just been given to car number 64. That's interesting.
Arndt Meyer. I'm not quite sure what he did wrong there, but there's this gaggle of cars come past here. There is Bobby Rahal, there is Vitola, there is Unser, and there are the two cars of Alex Zanardi just zipping past there on the outside of Patrick Carpentier, I think maybe that was.
Yes, Carpentier dropping back a little bit in the Alimax car there. Not going quite so quickly on this restart, which is interesting to see. Meanwhile, Dario Franchitti is somewhat further down the order now because he came into the pits. He's now down in 13th position. So, all change as Arndt Meyer. He's got his stop-and-go penalty. He's got to stop in there for around 30 seconds before he's allowed to go again. It was actually a violation to do with the pace car. I'm not sure if he actually took position exactly where he should have been, and that's why they brought him in for a stop-and-go penalty. So it's all action, both on the track and in the pit lane, and of course the crews are informed. Oh, Maurizio Gugelmin's just come past us. They've managed to get that engine fired up again, so it's not an engine failure as such, it's just an engine stoppage, and Maurizio Gugelmin has rejoined the track. So interesting.
4 laps down though, I reckon. I think he probably, the graphic is showing him 3. I think it might have been 4 as he comes past there. Meanwhile, the two Brahma cars out in front of the field, and there goes Arndt Meyer to serve his penalty as the rest of the field streams through. There is Patrick Carpentier. Oh dear, a problem for the other Lola driver. That's Richie Hearn in the pits. He'd had a good run. He'd been a bit unlucky with the cautions, but you can see how dejected. Just see from the body language there, poor Richie Hearn. He's had a horrible year. He had a good run going here, but just no luck whatsoever going his way, it seems.
Yeah, that's the 8th DNF out of 12 races for Richie Hearn. And so it's not only a problem of pace with that Lola car, it's also a problem of reliability, so it really is very disappointing for Hearn. But meanwhile, look at this. This is rather fun because Alex Zanardi is trying to get past Unser Jr. for 5th position, wheel to wheel at 230 miles an hour, and Alex Zanardi makes fairly easy work of it. These two have already raced here this afternoon, interestingly enough, Jeremy, in the IROC race, the International Race of Champions. They were both racing, weren't they?
They were indeed. The race was delayed by over 45 minutes because of a complete power failure in the area here. There was no electricity at all at Michigan Speedway there, and the biggest problem was the television station couldn't do their job at all, so they had to delay the start of the race. But both the Chip Ganassi's pair and Al Unser Jr. were in the IROC race, which actually race was won by Randy LaJoie, a NASCAR Busch Series driver. Mark Martin finished 8th place and he won the championship. Both the Ganassi guys fell out with problems early in the race, and Unser soldiered on, I think he finished 3rd at the end of the race behind Bobby Gordon, so a good run for him.
So the second race of the day for Al Unser Jr., and so far he's doing a fine job in 6th position. He'll still be there at the end, he hopes, but it's Scott Pruitt who's leading at the moment from Raul Boesel, the two teammates running up front. There's some great racing going on here. You're watching Bobby Rahal in the blue and white car battling with Zanardi, but Michael Andretti has just made a couple of good moves, and he is now leading this race again on lap number 77. Replay of him going past Scott Pruitt, and it took a little while for it to happen. It was lining him up. There was a bit of traffic getting involved. Look how close they got there as they went past Arndt Meyer. But then Michael had the inside line, and he was just able to carry that little bit more speed into the corner, and Andretti took the lead. Let's just take another look at that one.
We're on board Michael Andretti here, getting a good draft. You have to hear that engine. You have to lift there because you can see how quickly he was closing on Scott Pruitt going into that corner. That is interesting. But even so, he's able to keep the momentum and draw up alongside. And there they are. They both dive down below Arndt Meyer. Michael Andretti saw him coming left in the room, but he's still got momentum. And going into the corner, Michael Andretti can hear it absolutely flat out there. No problem whatsoever. That car is running magnificently.
That was brilliant, wasn't it? Just fantastic with the 3 cars side by side at over 230 miles an hour, nearly 240, and an absolutely brilliant move from Michael Andretti. Now he's
terminal. Let's bring it in.
Slowed it right down now. This is interesting. They've got a problem. Sounds like apparently he might be losing oil. It looks as though it could be terminal. It could be the end of the race. What is going on here? Every time somebody's up front and looks to be well set, something goes disastrously wrong. But we're hearing reports it's dropping fluid, that car, and Michael Andretti has slowed it right down. It's gearbox. Gearbox, you heard it on the radio yourself. You could hear Michael's voice.
Let's put the toe tires on it and get the quick jack, because it's not going to be able to get it out of gear.
You're listening to that onboard radio. The team deciding what to do. They're going to get that car jacked up, but it's oil on track as well. We've heard the kart safety officials going to work on track. The yellows are out, obviously, and Michael clambers out of the car. I cannot believe it. Michael Andretti retires from the US 500 after the drive of the season in many ways. What a superb early stint it was to move up from 19th position to take over the lead of the race. Michael Andretti in absolutely brilliant form. The car was in brilliant form, but it's not to be. It's a gearbox failure, and it's not only the Reynards that are in gearbox trouble here today, it's the Swift. It must purely be down to the amount of heat that's being created by running around this track in these high temperatures, but it still seems very strange. Don't forget, all of these guys do a huge number of 500-mile tests in the early part of the year, but something is going wrong on the gearboxes all the way through the field. We've got an interview hopefully coming up with Michael Andretti, our man down there, ready to speak to Michael, but I can't imagine that Michael is going to be feeling too able to speak a lot about this. He must be so bitterly disappointed. The pits have been opened, by the way, and Michael's interview coming up here.
Tell me what happened here in this last few laps.
Gearbox. Something in the gearbox froze up.
We had heard a radio report earlier that there was also a concern about the weight jacker. Were you dealing with two problems then?
Yeah, but that wasn't a major one. I think it was okay. I think it was working. It wouldn't show it on the dash. But I mean, the car was just flawless. I mean, just totally in control right from the word go, and really disappointing. I mean, you know, we deserve this one. We deserve to win this one.
From yesterday when you qualified 19th to make this charge up today, what did you do to get the improvement in the car?
Really nothing. The car was like that all weekend. It just, when we were by ourselves, it wasn't real fast, but in traffic it was really good. So, you know, we were working on the race, and it paid off.
Thank you, Michael. Jack?
Well, Gary, as we watch the top...
Well, there we see the top three guys into the pits on the split screen. Bobby Rahal's made a good stop. Raul Boesel tries to get going at the bottom of the picture. Scott Pruitt also going out, and they all get out fairly cleanly in the end as they come past us now. Mark Blundell has just been to the pits. He goes past us as well. His pit is almost where our commentary position is. In fact, Paul Tracy comes back out. Tracy's been running well in the last few laps. We didn't really get a chance to mention his progress up through the field, but Jeremy, Paul Tracy in the number 3 car, the championship lead, has been running quite consistently, hasn't he?
A bunch of people running very well indeed, and interestingly, quite a few of them on Goodyear tyres. Trevor Hoskins has actually left us now. We can talk about it a little bit more openly perhaps, but Bobby Rahal was running very, very strongly indeed in that last stint. He moved up from 9th position to 2nd place, right behind Scott Pruitt before he came into the pits, and fabulous job by Jimmy Prescott and that Team Rahal crew. The Miller Lite car of Bobby Rahal gets him out into what would be the lead, but Dario Franchitti once again does not come into the pits. He'd stopped, of course, under the previous caution. He's out of sequence on the rest of the field. So Dario Franchitti will be out front, and in 2nd place will be Bobby Rahal.
Great, fantastic. Dario Franchitti leading at on a 500-miler on his first time here. Rahal goes through in 2nd, and Zanardi is 3rd. The cars are still following the pace car at the moment, but it doesn't look as though it's going to be for very much longer. We're going to get this race underway next time around. Dario Franchitti is the race leader at the moment, 84 laps completed. Bobby Rahal is running 2nd. A few cars up there, back markers amongst them. Zanardi is 3rd, Pruitt is 4th. Remember, Scott Pruitt came into the pits, but it was really Rahal who they did a great pit stop there, because Rahal, getting out ahead of Scott Pruitt and well ahead of Raul Boesel, is now dropped down to 7th position. So that was a major piece of good work from Team Rahal there. Carpentier is 5th, Alonso Jr. is in 6th place. Mark Blundell is running in 8th position, by the way, ahead of Walter Salles and Brian Herter. And Paul Tracy now down in 11th place, just ahead of Gilles de Ferran. And those are the 12 cars actually on the lead lap at the moment.
Yeah, and in 13th place is Christian Fittipaldi, 1 lap down, and there he is in the Kmart Budweiser Swift, right behind Dario Franchitti, the race leader. As we're getting ready for the restart here, Franchitti picks up the pace going into turn 3, flat on the throttle through turns 3 and 4, and here he comes up to complete lap 85, and